With me via telephone, all the way from a moving vehicle, somewhere in the tri-state area, my guess, should be the Bauman Nagin, the man of big avoidance himself, the one and only Reb Joey Newcomb. Was machst du, Reb Joey?
Wow, hey, look at Reb Yossi. What an introduction there, Taka. I'm here in the throughway, so it's a deep avodah, because so many Yidden pass through the throughway in the summer, so it's Taka a big avodah. It's big avodas.
No, it definitely is. It definitely is. Tell me, Joey, everybody's saying how the world, is flipped on its side through Corona, and now we're like past Corona. We're still not out of the woods. We're still in Gullus, but what is this big avodas that Joey Newcomb has to bring to the forefront over here?
You know what? The emes, the goal is to be mechazik. If we like you mentioned, we the world went through COVID, and even though it's officially over, right, or so we think, people still, I think people are still affected by the whole Indian. Everyone had their own struggles that they were dealing with through the situation, and in general, it's gullus. So if we could bring light and chizik, that's the whole avodah. That's it. That's the big avodah.
It definitely is a big avodah. I was going through your albums, Joey. Your first album. And first of all, I gotta compliment you. For somebody who just came onto the market in the recording section in 2009 and 2021 to have already 3 albums. It's a big feat. It's not easier, Joey.
Baruch Hashem. What can I say? Thank you, Hashem.
So when your debut album came out, we're calling it the Blue Album, To Be a Yid in 2009. Then we had your How Are You Reb Yid, the Green Album in 2020. Now we have the Big Avodas, the Yellow Album in 22. The other 2 albums had a title track with the same name. How Are You Reb Yid was the last track on your second album, and To Be a Yid was the first track on your first album. I don't see no track here called Big Avodas, Joey.
You know what? It's a good question, because we were trying to figure out. We were discussing at some point. That, by the way, you said 2009. I think you meant 2019.
Yes, 2019. I apologize. I had a little chayim before to get ready for this interview.
So the kids and we were schmoozing, and at some point we're like, "What are we going to call this album?" And I was like, I told Donnie, I was like, Lemai said this album is Big Avodas. And Donnie was like, okay, good. And he didn't even, I didn't mean it like that. I meant like,
You're just talking about the actual process. I remember because you told me you weren't sure.
Yeah, it's Big Avodas, all the messages and everything. And I was like, okay, great. Big Avodas. I'm like, you know what? Let's go for it. It's not the title track, but it's how I feel about it. So it's unique, you hear?
100%. By the way, I had to ask you for the cover picture, how long did it take you to use gel to curl your payas into the number 3?
So here's a little secret.
You like that? You like that one, right?
That's a great one. A little secret exclusively for Reb Yossi over here.
Mm-hmm.
That little payas was an extension done by the graphic designer. My word there.
Because it looks mamish like it's real. I was like, man, Joey must have spent hours in front,
That would have been cool if I could actually pull it off, but yeah, that was a non-actual extension.
So many years ago, approximately 3 years ago, we had the pleasure of speaking to Joey first time, and you told us that you grew up listening to Shlomo Carlebach and to Marvelous Venus Machine, and from these 2 greats came out the style of Joey Newcomb, and 3 albums later we definitely see it. But tell me, you started off with a song from the Blumstein Brothers, Thank You Hashem, in your last album, and obviously you had a few hits over the way. But this album seems to be only Joey Newcomb songs or Blumstein Brothers songs. So tell us how this initial, meeting of them went and how it exploded into this whole thing that spawned the Joey Newcomb doll.
So me and the Blumstein Brothers are what I would refer to as chavrusas. So, meaning the first time I met them, the Blumstein Brothers had their whole beautiful organization. Thank you, Hashem. And I had never met any of them yet. So this was about a few summers ago when I was putting out my first album. I had not yet put it out.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow somebody sent me Thank You Hashem and said, listen to this song. And I listened to it and I fell in love with it right away. And I started actually playing it at little events that I was doing at that point. Even though I had not put out an album, I was doing like little word of mouth events type. And I started playing it, and I was like, this is so, it was talking to me. It was so up my alley. So by the time I ended up meeting them, when we did our first Farbrengen together on Sukkot that year, by the time I ended up meeting them, I told them, listen, I'm putting out my first album. We need to send this song to Klal Yisrael. This song is needed. And Aryeh at the time, Aryeh was like, you know what? Go with it. That's it. Run with it. Take it. Do whatever you need. And we took it, and that ended up becoming the last track on the album, and the rest is history. But over the years, we just got closer and closer. We became very good chaver, myself, Ali Melech, Aryeh Blumstein, and we davened together, and we've learned together, and we've farbrang together, and we've written music together. So I look at us in life, even though like he's Thank You Hashem, and I'm like I do my own thing, and even though people obviously associate us very strongly,
right?
But in the end of the day, we are shtickle chavrusas. We are chavrusas. So most of the stuff that are on my albums is either me or Eli Melech, right? Because the stuff that he writes, either I was there during the process, part of the Ma'aseh, or it spoke to me like Thank You Hashem did.
That's amazing. By the way, do you realize how big Thank You Hashem is?
Thank You Hashem has revolutionized the whole world.
No, Joey, I don't mean from the memorabilia, the T-shirts, the wristbands. I don't mean any of that. The song Thank You Hashem. Should I explain to you how big the song Thank You Hashem is?
Tell me.
Go back 6 years. From 6 years ago till 20 years before that, every event, concert, musical production ended with one song, Someday We Will All Be Together from MBD. Since its release of Thank You Hashem, and you were there at the Haas concert this year and last year, the last song at a concert, whether Joey Newcomb is there or not, is going to be Thank You Hashem. That is a huge compliment. If you think about God, Elbaz can do a concert, and the last song will be Thank You Hashem. How does that speak to you?
You know, Reba also did that. He's been doing Thank You Hashem as his finale also, which is fascinating.
Yeah, I'm sure Benny does it too, but it's mamash taken, and not just in America, in Israel too.
You know, me personally, I think it's way deeper than just being a nice hit song. I think that the message is who we are as a people. We're called Yehudim. We're called Jews, which means that the whole essence of who we are is Yehuda, which is Afam Eidos Hashem. So the message of Thank You Hashem is so grabbing. It's so attached to our Metzias that everybody. I mean, I don't have to tell you, but I'm sure you know about these mices. But the type of emails and messages and stuff that myself and the Blumsteins get about the healing that people experience from Thank You Hashem. The healing, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a crazy thing. By the way, I'll tell you a quick mice. It's a funny mice.
Sure.
By this concert that we did with Shia Menlowitz with the Hall of Fame concert.
Right.
So the concert was supposed to end with Someday, like every concert always did, right?
Right.
Shia comes over to me at some point, and he's like, Joey, you got to do Thank You Hashem. End it with Thank You Hashem. So I told him, I was like, listen, Reb Shia, I'm here on the stage with MBD, the legends of Jewish music. Like me, Little Fisher, Joey Newcomb is going to come and start take over the situation.
Right.
He says, Joey, I don't care. I need it. I need you to do it. That's what we need to do. So I wasn't sure what to do. I was back and forth. I'm like, how am I going to do this in front of MBD while we're ending with Someday? MBD's the Rebbe on the stage. You know what I'm saying?
No, 100%.
The kid says, she told me, you got to do it. Okay, she is the boss. We're going to go for it. Right after we ended Someday, we rocked out a Thank You Hashem. So I went over to MBD while the Olam is rocking Thank You Hashem and dancing, and I'm like, I'm sorry. She had told me to do that out of respect. I wouldn't have done that in front of you. He says, what do you mean it's Gavaldic? So he's being nice. After, I went backstage and asked him, I hope it's okay that I did that. MBD tells me a whole Torah. What do you mean? He said you had to do that because you have to go from Yira to Ahava. You always have to end starting with Yira going to Ahava. So something will all be together. It's like a tefillah. It's emotional, but then you have to go right into Simcha and Tanzing. So he's like, it was a perfect. It made me feel so good. So I.
That's amazing. Joey Newcomb with us via telephone. We're discussing the release of his latest album, his third album. We're calling it the Yellow Album. It's called Big Avodas. In stores now, available for digital download, featuring songs by Joey and the talented Blumstein Brothers. Rabbi Joey, what did it? We saw a lot of photos on your Instagram this year of you in studio with a lot of different people. But only 2 of them made the album. I'm wondering what happened to those other guys. I think Morty Schaap was in the studio with you once, and a few other singers. But I only see 2 guest stars in this album.
Well, a lot of them could have been tied to Journeys or Off the Record. I sang on Baruch Levine's Off the Record,
right,
and I sang on Journeys. So there was a lot of times where other Chaver were there when I came. I mean, Avi Rottenberg was there when I was there. Mordechai Shapiro. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So it could be it has to do with that, but there is a song that me and Mordechai Shapiro wrote together, believe it or not, at some concert in Florida, and it's a niggin. And we actually laid it down at some point, and we're going through it to see, what the story's going to be with it. But it could have been that was one of the times.
Mm-hmm. So L'Shem Shemayim. By the way, did you have a connection to Rabbi Yosef Karduner before this album? I mean, you had a shaykhus?
So, interestingly, not so much of a personal shaykhus, but a little bit. But my father used to listen to Karduner in the car. I mean, growing up, we had all the Karduner albums. So as kids, I got used to, I know all his stuff. I mean, from that first album of Shir Lamalo, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all this stuff. So it was a certain element of nostalgia. I actually met him once in Israel when I was there for Shabbos. We sat down Friday night and we learned Likud Maran together. I don't know if he remembers this. But we learned Rav Nachman Steyer. And then a couple of times when he came into the 5 towns for Aish events or stuff like that, I went to see him. So I was always a big fan of his sweetness and the genuine feel of his music. So by that song, his name popped into my head. I felt like it would have been a good shidduch. And he loved the song right away. He said, let me hear it. I emailed it to him, and he said, beautiful, let's go.
Wow.
So it was really nice of him.
That's something that Joey Newcomb never knew that he wanted to do, I guess. Collaboration with Rabbi Karduner.
It's right.
By the way, it doesn't faze me that Joey would have a L'chaim song. As a matter of fact, I'm surprised it took to the third album to have a L'chaim song. And, it's such a wordy song. L'chaim, L'chaim, L'chaim Tovim L'shal. So many words, I was like, wow. He gave the whole song 1 page, and it's just 5 words. And 3 of those are the same word.
Right. Yeah, not too many lyrics over there. We actually wrote that song in Cassopolis, Michigan, by Yid Mayo Weiss, by his Afro. We were sitting with a bunch of Chaver Shabbos morning, and the Olam was making L'chaim. So we made that niggin, and then Matzah Shabbos we recorded it. Make
sure I ask you if this was Shabbos morning before davening ended or before Musaf.
No, we had a Sharka Musaf. Only after davening. Oh, I'm not a Kiddush club guy.
I'm glad to hear that. You know why, Joey? Because davening on Shabbos morning and not having Kiddush, now that's big avodas to wait till after davening.
That's a big avodah to wait till after davening. But the key is to get into the avodah of davening. When you're all in the avodah, you don't need to leave for a l'chaim. After.
Everybody says that if a singer puts out an album, they record 10 to 12 songs, they put it out, it's so simple. I mean, especially as one of the composers, that even when you have your songs recorded, you guys have to sit and clear with this big avodah of what song goes where, right?
Yeah, that's a very interesting sugya to me because, by a lot of these type of things, I put my trust in Donnie's word, and I let him, call the shots on that.
Right.
But it seems to be, you want to put, the order of the songs, slow, fast, slow, fast, slow, fast. That's one cheshbon. Another cheshbon is, which one we anticipate being bigger, to put it in the beginning or to put it later. So, for me, it's a funny sugya because for me, all the songs that I've written are dear to me. So I hate looking at them as like, this one's better, that one's going to be bigger, this one should be here.
Right.
So I sort of love to put my faith in Donnie when it comes to that. he likes to do the switch it up, fast, slow, fast, slow, fast, slow.
I mean,
but,
Joey, 20 years ago, you had to say, okay, which song is starting side A, which song is ending side A, which side is going to be on the reverse of the cassette, side B. It was a whole other Claire of what has to be in middle of each side. But so tell me, Hakome Ita, I think it was the perfect song to start off with. But I mean, so this was a Donnie call, you're saying?
Actually, both of us. So we wanted to start with a flyer. We wanted to start with a bang. We wanted that people, when they put on the album, they're ready, have the energy, and they have the constant.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, many times when I do shows, when I do concerts and camps, I start with Thank You Hashem for that reason. I'm very into starting off with a bang, and then once we have everyone in full energy, then we could give the messages across.
Right.
But we both decided that would be the right move to put in the beginning. By the way, it's crazy. I'm thinking about it now with the tapes. I don't remember records, but I remember cassettes. Of course, that's all we had was cassettes because the cassette was $10 and the CD was $15.
That's right.
So I always bought the cassette.
That's right.
I always bought the tape. So you had to choose what side. Wow. And wait, did it work? Like the first song on either side had to be the best. Had to be a good song, I'm assuming.
Had to be a good song, but usually they would save a better song probably for track 3. So it would be like a good song, a slow song, and then a real knockin' song.
Wow, fascinating.
But on the other hand, you also wanted people to be left with something at the end of the album. Not to put the last song should just be a filler, but you wanted them to leave them wanting more, so to speak.
Right. So today with shuffle options and Apple Music and Spotify, I wonder if those cheshbonis don't even come into play anymore because anybody's just going to click on any song at any time.
I don't know. I think the Jewish music fan and myself especially, I want to hear the album in the correct order that the artist released it because there's usually a rhyme and a reason why they did it. I don't want to skip around.
Right.
I mean, if I don't have patience for a song, I'll forward it. But, I try to listen at least once or twice in the correct order.
Right.
Another thing I liked you did in this album was you have on every page the inspiration behind the niggin. Tell me, people ask you so many questions. Do you have to go and do this?
So that has more to do with me than other people asking. People do ask. For example, one of the questions I got a lot was Matovu. I have a song on the album. I think it's track 2, actually.
That's right, track 2, yeah.
Matovu Elecha Yaakov. And then the high part is the things that you have are meant for you. So it's like an Indian of be happy with what you have. So a lot of people are like, what's the connection? What does that have to do with Matovu Elecha Yaakov?
And that's actually a good question.
That is a good question, right? So so for me, it's especially the way I write and the experiences of where the songs are coming from are very important in order to connect to the song. Not all of them. Some of them are simple, but a lot of them are very important to connect to the song. So for me, it's a vital part of the song is where it came from and the story behind it. Because like I said, and I've heard Eitan Katz say the same Yossi, but I have him down and said, hey, let me write a song now, and I could say this without a doubt. All songs that I've written came from a certain story, from a certain Vartara that I heard, from a certain thing has a story. So it's so important to me that people should have the option to connect to that element of the song. But Matoivu, if someone would read the inspiration behind the niggin, they'll see the whole part of the connection of Matoivu and be happy with what you have.
Now here I see it says it's a Rashi in Parshas Bullock.
Right. So Rashi on that pasuk of Matovu Elecha Yaakov, Rashi says is that Bilam was pointing out that the way the Jews built their tents in the Midbar was that they wouldn't build it in a way where doors would face each other. So you could never see into someone else's tent. The tzaddikim said, that was the big thing, like Bilam was pointing out, like, hey, by the way, they would sneeze. It was much deeper than that. They said Jews realized that their doors in life are different. Their doors in life. Everything they were given.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like when they say when one door closes, another door opens. I guess that's what they meant.
Right. But they set up their tents in a way where you could never see into somebody else's house to have the opportunity of the Yetzer Hara to make you jealous of their pool, their money, their shalom bayis. We don't look at one Jew doesn't look at another Jew's home, not because of sneers, because we understand that everything that we have was specifically given to us for what we need.
That's amazing, Joey. Joey Newcomb with us via telephone, talking about the release of his latest album, Big Avodas. I got to tell you, Joey, when we talked to you and you told us that you listened to, like we said, Carlbach and Nidos Machine, we definitely felt it. But with song 3, I'm getting a lot of Uncle Moshe vibes. I don't know.
Wait, song 3?
The One Thing That I Know.
Oh, yes.
Did you and him work on this together or what?
At least the title, right? At least the title.
Even the words. The One Thing That I Know. Oh, yes. I know who. It's all from you, Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's I don't know why, I don't know when, I don't know how, I don't know. Joey, there's a lot of things you don't know. I never knew that.
Well, that's the truth. We all got to at some point be moida that the only thing we know is who. But this year, Rabbi Brody, he showed me from Rav Ashkin in the book that Rav Ashkin said one of the hardest nights of his life was the first night that he was in prison.
Mm-hmm.
So. And he said the reason for that is that the first night he was in prison, he was stuck with these questions. I don't know why, I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know what. And sometimes the hardest gullus is when you're like stuck without clarity. You're stuck in Sveikus without clarity. And he explained that at some point during the night, a light shined into his head. He said, there's one thing I know the answer to. I know who. And he said, once I was able to realize that I know the answer to who, it started my journey to Gula. Crazy Maisa, no?
Yeah, it is, because if you figure out it's a Kadosh Baruch Hu, any other person could be, frustrated or still say, I know who, but why,
Right, exactly. But he said the first light when he was able to start his journey to Gula was accepting that I know who, it's all from you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and then he was able to now start the process to Amunah of, okay, once I know who, he does everything for the best, and then you start the journey.
100%. Still, it takes a very strong person to admit that. But that's an amazing story.
100%.
Now,
but that's where this came from.
Anybody who follows your Instagram knows that you love Motzei Shabbos. You'll always post like a good Vacha, gesinte Vacha, Mazda Vacha, money dik Vacha, happy dik. You'll post like 50 things. So, I guess. It was about time for you to release a good Vach song, Joey, right?
It's true. Like you said, I love Motzei Shabbos. There's a certain feeling Motzei Shabbos. I mean, we know that it's a zman of like Mashiach vibes. Malav Malchus called David Amelech Suda. Then we sing about Eliyahu Hanavi. There's stuff that's Geula Day. So for me, there was always a special feeling about it. Even growing up, my father would sing those mirrors. So I was always connected to the feeling. But Daka took a while, yeah. I mean, the song was written literally 3 months ago. It was one of the last ones to be put on the album.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I had written that song, and I had no plans to put it on the album. I just wrote it, and I posted it on the status and the Instagram, and I was like, I get the Vach. It's a nice little gesture. Donnie saw the post, and he was like, this got to be on the album. And I'm like, okay.
Wow, it's amazing. I happen to think this is going to be one of the biggest songs in the album. I mean, it's only been 2 weeks, but what kind of feedback have you been getting?
Crazy feedback. In fact, when you look at the exact number of streams,
right,
it's very unusual that a slow song is at the top of the list.
It is. It definitely is.
Especially in Jewish music, it's unusual. So Agit Vach is in the top 3 list right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I read your letter here at the end, which I thought was hilarious. I've never seen that before, but you're right. I can't guarantee that I'll be here Shemaim, and I can't guarantee I'm going to heaven after 120. The one thing I can guarantee is that these Nigunim are definitely Yotzim in Alev. And, slow niggin or fast niggin, that's definitely something we can tell right away.
For sure. That's the truth. I told Donnie, I said, the letter that I'm going to write in there is exactly what I'm feeling.
I got to tell you, the Oid Yishomai, I personally think is going to become a big song because it's a very easy song to pick up, and everybody's always looking for new wedding hits. And even though this wasn't, I know you didn't compose this thinking, oh yeah, I need a wedding hit song and people are going to sing, but it's a very simple melody. It's very easy to pick up, and it's simchadik.
Yeah. I already got a couple of clips of people doing it at weddings, the two songs that people are sending me so far that they've done at weddings is Oidi Shama and Im Yesh Mikveh Yesh Tikvah. But Oidi Shama is Geschmack. It's very Geschmack. In fact, the Blumsteins wrote that one, and I came to the L'chaim for their sister. One of the Blumstein girls got engaged, and at the L'chaim they were working out this thing, and so I was lucky to be there. And
wow.
we franked it. It was gewaldig, yeah. Yeah, I think that should make its way into the Chassidus, I think.
I think it definitely will. And speaking of Yesh Mikveh Yesh Tikvah, when you posted that little clip of you and Shmuley in the studio just doing some of the high parts, I was like, okay, this is something I have to hear. Besides the song having such a weird title, I was like, I have to hear what's gonna happen with this. Were you guys in the studio doing vocals at the same time?
Same time.
How was
Donnie's very into that. Donnie is very into that. He pushes all the time that the collaboration should be real collaborations.
And what was it like?
Feed off each other's energy. Yeah, it was awesome. He's such a sweet guy, Shmuley. He's such a sweet, emistic, just happy person. He's a pleasure to be around. And Baruch Hashem, maybe she gave me siyata d'shmaya to think of him for this song.
It's amazing. I got to say, people, from all the kids here in Shul, from I hear, that's definitely one song they pointed out to me last Shabbos. Joy Newcomb with us via telephone, wrapping up an interview about his brand new album, Big Avodas. Big Avodas in this interview. We're discussing here some of the songs that are going on Joey's album. Joey and Aryeh. Now, you guys probably play a lot of gigs and weddings because he's part of a band and he's always a musician. But how did this connection come about?
That's, the real connection of me and Aryeh really happened during COVID, which is interesting.
Really?
Obviously we've been together, like you said, like he's his band and musician wise, and we've been connected at gigs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the real connection happened during COVID because there were so many live stream events, and he had the perfect little basement studio set up to get good quality sound and good visuals and good camera footage. So I started I remember everybody who called for one of these live stream dinner events or one of those type of gigs, I sent them to Aryeh. They worked it out with Aryeh, and then I ended up going, he lives 5-minute drive from me.
Right.
So we ended up going to his basement. We ended up spending so much time together in COVID in his basement there, doing these live stream events.
Mm-hmm.
So we developed a good gesture. We became good chaverim. And one of the times that I was there, I was showing him this song that I had written called "Tata, I'm Coming Home."
Right.
And he actually he actually pretty much wrote the chorus. I showed him the low part, and I told him about the chorus. I said, "How about this and how about that?" And before you know it, we worked it together. So
that's amazing. So this is something that has to happen more often, you're saying?
Yes, definitely.
Now,
those were good times down there in the face.
The only two songs you didn't really discuss was the Morocco Niggin and the Costa Rica Niggin. Now, I'm getting very scared because if Joey's going to keep traveling the way he is every country going to have its own Niggin, or every state, or how are we working it?
Well, it's funny. Actually, the Carduner song was written in L.A., but that's not out of the country. But, yeah, you know what? The truth is, I've gone on trips with Eli Slamowitz, CNS tours, and it's funny that you're saying that because I really get into my musical element when I'm in a change of scenery or a place of inspiration,
right?
Or there's just that vibe going on, and that's when I write the most. Like a lot of my songs on my last album, I written in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny. The Costa Rica Niggin was written on Shabbos in Costa Rica. Shabbos morning. Fascinating story. The Special Children's Center.
Yeah.
By Janine Schwecky's place over there.
Mm-hmm.
So they were actually on that trip. And during the Suda, at some point, there was no music, there was no Zmiris, there was no anything. Everyone was just schmoozing. And one of the special kids, his name is Alfred, he was like by himself in the middle of the room, just like dancing. I saw the scene and I was like, oh, he's dancing by himself. I went over and started dancing with him, and we were just dancing, but like there was to no song. And then as we were dancing together, I just started singing 999 did it Literally, the song just happened.
Wow.
And then we taught it to them. And then for the rest of Shabbos, sometimes the hardest thing is when you write a song on Shabbos. And
to try to remember it. Yeah, you're not going to have to remember it by the time Shabbos is over.
Yeah. Reb Shmuel Brazil told me once that he has a couple of Negunim that came to the world just for Shabbos. He can't even remember them.
Maybe that's where the Kedusha belongs. The song was just meant for Shabbos.
The song was just meant for Shabbos, right? But I couldn't let go of this one. We taught it to the island. We sang it the entire Shabbos.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't stop. We were sitting it after the Suda outside, Shalosh Shudas, right before Abdallah. So by the time we were able to record it, I was able to remember the song. So yeah, that was funny. That's called the Costa Rican nigga, right.
Then there's the Morocco nigga, yeah.
The Morocco nigga. I was actually going to go to Morocco twice, which it happens to be, out of all the destinations that I've traveled to, it's one of my favorites, there's no question.
Really?
There's so much. Yeah. And I'll tell you why, because it was such a unique mix of spiritual and fun. Costa Rica was just a vacation.
Right.
There's nothing spiritual. Unless there's the Tzoitzes, who knows? But so
the Shaila is, if Joey goes to Dubai or Zimbabwe, are we going to have a Zimbabwe or Dubai nigga?
Yeah, probably a different style. But you never know. Like Costa Rica was because we were sitting with Chevra and it was a meaningful moment. And,
All right, so you're saying Morocco is meaningful because there's a lot of fun things to do. And there is a Jewish quarter there and some stuff from many years ago. It's not just all about vacation.
In Morocco, there's tons of rich Jewish history there.
Right.
I mean, we went to the Baba Sali's house. There's Kivrei Tzadikim all over the place. The old Svardim and Kabbalah, Rav Amram Ben Diwan, which is a prime destination. Mm-hmm. And actually one of the songs is about him. And
this song, Joey, Morocco melody.
The first of the medley, right?
Yes.
It's called Rav Amram Ben Diwan. I actually wrote that on the way to Rav Amram Ben Diwan. We were hearing so many stories on the bus of people that had Yeshuas from davening at that kever. And people were coming back to say thank you. Crazy mices. But the kids, yeah. There was tons of spirituality. Kivrei Tzadikim, old Jewish shuls, the Baba Sali's house, the house where the Rambam used to practice medicine. There was beautiful Jewish history there, and as well as all the jeeping and the deserts and the Mishigas and all that stuff. So
and the shuk, right? The shuk is always the most important part.
The shuk is awesome, and they're so nice to the Jews there. It's so unique because when you walk into a country where the religion is Islam, so right. You never know what a Jew is going to have to deal with over there, and it was just beautiful. They're such nice people and everything. Baruch haba, Baruch haba. They were welcoming us, and the king likes the Jews. It's a great experience. It's a great experience.
Joey, I have one last question for you. Do you like shakshuka for breakfast?
How would you guess that, Rav Yossi? In fact, if you asked the chef that was there in Morocco, he was making me crazy because every morning I was like, where's the shakshuka? I couldn't get over it. In fact, to this day, if I ever go to a cafe, one of my prime orders is shakshuka.
Really?
There's something about it. I love it. I was actually introduced to it. I don't know. I just loved it. It was great. And we were eating shakshuka every morning in Morocco. In fact, the guy who was running the trip got nervous from the song because he was telling me people are going to think that's all I serve for breakfast. I have this huge spread here,
So Joy's going to do Morocco Melody 2.0 lamb kebabs for supper.
Right, exactly. Exactly, the Duke.
Joey, I know you're busy. I know you're running around. I know you're going from camp to camp to camp. I just want to wish you Atzlacha Rabba with the new album, with everything you do. Keep on with the big Avodah. It'll get a little smaller in time.
Baruch Hashem. I appreciate it. It's always a chus to talk to you.
Always. Joey, have an amazing summer, and we look forward to hearing more great music from you.
Gewaldig.